What's going to happen in real estate in the second half of 2023? Well, here's what I can tell you about Cabarrus County, North Carolina, where I'm located, and that's Concord, Harrisburg, Kannapolis, Midland, Mount Pleasant, and some unincorporated parts of the county. What I know is this: the first half of 2023 can only be described as weird. Numbers went up, volume stayed a little bit sideways down, then up and hopping and hopping and hopping, because with the volatility in interest rates and with this crazy low level of inventory that is persisting, we're just in a weird space in the market. But what has happened is this: houses have been sold and houses have been purchased. Commercial property has been sold and commercial property has been purchased. Commercial property has been leased and residential properties have been leased. Land's been bought and sold. And what you should really figure out from this is that no matter what's happening in the economic climate, property is always bought and sold. So what I'm predicting for the second half of 2023 is this. Currently, we're in a relatively stable interest rate environment, which means rates haven't moved in the last week. What that also means is that we do expect another rate increase sometime later this year. So if you're thinking of purchasing, now might be a great time. However, I might be wrong and rates might go down. I don't think I'm wrong, but I could be, because I have no control over interest rates. So if the interest rate environment determines your purchasing ability, then you figure out where you fall with it right now, and if there's something you like, you buy it. Because what happens with interest rates is one discussion. What happens with inventory is another discussion. There does not seem to be any great answer in sight for the perpetual low level of houses on the market. And here's why, y'all. We just are behind on development and we're behind on building rooftops. End of discussion. We are several thousand rooftops short in Cabarrus County, and we have several thousand new jobs coming in. Yay! Hello, new neighbors. We're so glad to have you. We'll do our best to find you somewhere to live, and it might be in Rowan County or Stanley County, Iredell County, Mecklenburg County. We may have to move out of Cabarrus County to find you a property. Now, as a Cabarrus County realtor and resident, I don't want you to leave the county. I want you to be able to live where you work. But when we have a shortage, that means two things. One, you may not get the perfect house. And you should also know, even when inventory levels are high, you still might not get what you want, because the perfect house doesn't exist. We could find you a house that has all the things you said you wanted, and you'd move in and say, golly gee willikers, I wish it had this. That's just how houses work. So what I'll tell you is that if there's something that remotely is close, you may want to go ahead and buy it, and it won't be perfect, but you can make it your own. The second thing you have to know about these low levels of inventory is that there's nothing we can do organically to change it overnight. If we get more houses built, that still is a time frame pipeline. We still have to talk about land availability. Then we have to talk about the infrastructure around that land. Then we have to talk about permitting and zoning and regulations as to what can go on that land. Go through all of those steps, and then you get your plat map approved, and then we're still talking, when can we get the rooftops up, water and sewer infrastructure capacity, and then we're talking about getting some footers in the ground and some houses up. And so the time frame is not an overnight time frame. Now, some folks have said there will be a silver tsunami and a lot of baby boomers would sell their houses, and they would have, except where will our baby boomers go, y'all? This is one of those hiccups in the market where there are people who are retired, kids are gone, and they would love to downsize out of that 4,000 square foot house, but they've looked around and there's nothing that would be suitable for them to move into, and they probably don't want to move into their kid's house, frankly, and I don't blame them. So where are they going to go? And so that market is a little bit on hold. We also have the folks who would like to sell and buy something else, but the house that they're in has a really low interest rate, and they don't want to give up that 2.5% to buy something at 7.5%, because that just doesn't make sense. So that's what's holding us back. It takes a long time to build. Some folks who want to downsize have nowhere to go, and some folks who want to upsize or downsize don't want to give up their interest rates. All of those things impact the market. That doesn't mean there's nothing out there. There are houses on the market. There are always houses on the market. It just may be a different variety than what you're accustomed to. So when I look at the second half of 2023, again, I don't see anything that unlocks our inventory situation in Cabarrus County. I could be wrong. The market could go into a tailspin. Jobs could immediately vanish, and there could be a financial meltdown. But even if that were to happen, and that's a pretty doomsday scenario, so many of our homeowners in the county have equity that they could withstand a minute of economic trouble. So when we're looking at that, even if there's an economic crisis, it doesn't hit for some time because it does take a minute for it to get into the bloodstream. So knowing all of that, if you're thinking of buying a house, you should know that rents are probably going to keep going up. So if you're renting right now, expect your landlord to increase it at the end of your lease period. That means you may want to call a local realtor and say, what could I get in-house for my rental money or for a little less rental money? You may be surprised that you can buy something that is quite fine and would allow you to take that payment that you're making now, which is 100% going to the landlord, and at least this way part of it goes towards you, plus you may be building equity if prices continue to go up. That's what you can do. Now, if you're afraid of the market because you think prices will go down, I want you to remind you of something else. You're not going to be selling this house right away. Most houses are somewhere between a 5 to 10 year stay in your life. Some of you will stay longer and some of you will stay shorter, but in general, it's a pretty long-term purchase, which means that if you buy a house today for $400,000 and next month it goes down to $350,000, you shouldn't care because you weren't leaving anyway, so don't look, that's ghost. What you need to think about is what's this going to look like 5 years from now? And maybe it'll be $400,000 5 years from now, but you know what? Even if the price never moves, the mortgage interest deduction helps your net at the end of the tax year, and you will be knocking down slowly but surely that equity. So take those things into account as we go into the second half, and know that we do expect prices to either stay stable or go up a little. I expect interest rates to go up a little. I expect rents to go up a little. I also expect the jobs to continue coming in because Cabarrus County is a great place to live and work and bring your family, raise a family, get rid of your family, whatever you want to do. We'd love to have you here. So let's see what happens in the rest of 2023. The only thing I do know is that if I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to need to do some phone calls and make sure that I'm helping people with their real estate needs. And if the sun comes up tomorrow and so do you, you've got a job to do and a family to love and take care of. And you might want to think about doing that in your very own little piece of the American dream. I'll see you in the rest of 2023 and beyond.